Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Data Standard Audio Experience. I'm here with Michelle Gregory, the Senior Vice President of Data Science at 24/7 AI. And today we're speaking about the current state of conversational AI. So, welcome to the show, Michelle. It's such a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And could you just get started with telling us more about your background and introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Michelle Gregory. I've been in data science for a long time. I got my PhD in 2001, so it's been a while. I've been a data science before they called us data scientists. I have a PhD in computational linguistics. I have been in research. I was in academia for a while at universities and research labs, but I really enjoy applying science to real world problems. So I made the leap into industry quite some time ago now, about 15 years ago. As you mentioned, I'm currently the SVP of data science at 24/7 AI, which is a customer service company. But I've worked in data science in all domains, life science, cybersecurity. So the algorithms, sort of apply across the board. And what I really focus on and what am passionate about is making sure that customers see the output and interact with the AI that we provide.
Yeah, absolutely. And conversational AI specifically is a very exciting field to kind of work in, and there's a lot of different moving parts to it. And so, in your opinion, what do you think is the current state of conversational AI today?
Yeah, conversational AI is actually a big field. It includes, all of the voice assistants like Google, Alexa, Siri, interacting with your car, your phone. But we also use conversational AI a lot in customer service. And it's that set of technologies and algorithms that drives any interaction between consumers and a computer interaction. A lot's happened in the last 20 years. When I was working on speech recognition, it was, it only understood middle-aged male voices, no accents, no kids, certainly not women. That of course has changed, which is great. And in the last 20 years, we've also seen just huge amount of computational power that we can use. So that's what allows us to apply algorithms ubiquitously. So anything that we used to build and play on small machines, now we can incorporate in the cloud and has much more impact. So basically what that's allowed us to do in conversational AI is really bring deep learning algorithms and advanced algorithms to being able to process the data and do that in real time. So that's where it started. And of course, I think we do have more natural sounding AI and conversations with computers that we didn't have before. And that includes voice interactions as well as bots or chat interactions, as a lot of customer service applications are. What's been interesting throughout my career is that now AI sits behind everything that consumers interact with, whether you drive a car, whether you make reservations, you want to find a recipe. It's really all over the place. And we've been able to harness that in customer service and make use of that conversational AI. And what that really means is we're able to understand the intent of what a customer wants when they call customer service or start chatting online with an agent or a bot. We can understand what they want and get to resolution quicker. And that's really what it's all about, is understanding what the customer intent is and being able to resolve the issue at hand. And I think that in many channels, we've been able to sort of crack that nut and do it. I mean, initially, conversational AI was really stilted and really focused on rules-based approaches, right? Where you had to write every rule, if this, then that, and have a large tree. And now you can have much more natural sounding conversations where that's not the case. Be able to predict intent and actually use real-time processing as opposed to having to go through rules-based. So I think that that's something that conversational AI has done really well with those interactions. The other thing, there are just large data sets out there, whether they're our own data sets or data sets from GPT-2 or Mina. There are large data sets that you can train on to make those conversations much more natural sounding. And that in and of itself has seen a remarkable increase in usage and being able to resolve issues in real time.
Yeah, definitely. And it's such an interesting field to really work in because, like I had mentioned, there's a lot of different moving parts to this conversational AI, and it can be applied in a lot of different fields, as you had mentioned. Something that I'm actually really curious about is the languages that you might have to kind of work with, since there's so many languages in the world. How do you kind of account for all of these? I'm sure that must be a pretty big barrier that you have to face, right?
It is. And of course, we're not the only industry having to face that. And again, as with everything, you rely on data. And the more data you have and the more language pairs you have to train on, the better it gets. There's also a lot of open source tools. Every major package out there has, the libraries that we use for TensorFlow and Python, for example, have language packs in them already, which makes it a lot easier. So the industry's really come a long way. I mean, automatic translation, as we know, is the last holy grail. It's not there yet. But for very specific domains, like in customer service, where it's not open-ended, it actually is pretty good. And it just requires a lot of training, retraining, and having that data to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you think conversational AI can be improved right now, just to improve in the next coming years?
Oh, so well, there's lots that can be improved, whether it's for customer service. I'll speak more broadly first. So conversational AI, I mean, again, the holy grail is natural sounding interactions with the computer, whether it's in text format, chat format, or speech. We've worked on the voice interactions are getting better. What we don't have yet is the humor, the empathy, the jokes, we have sentiment detection, of course, but it's never going to be as good as humans, right? And open domain conversations as well. So behind every voice assistant, whether it's in customer service or whether it's Alexa, there's a knowledge base that the computer taps into, right? So you can ask Alexa for a recipe, and it can go search that large knowledge base of Google or the World Wide Web and pull information back. If you are asking what to do about a problem that you're having with your sister, it's not going to be as helpful, right? That's not something you'll find in its knowledge base. And I think even in our domain, in the customer service space, of course, we don't want a knowledge base as broad as Google. We actually need it much more narrow than that. But we still want natural sounding conversations, right? So improving that, there's a debate. When people interact with computers, do they really want it to sound more human-like? Probably not. You probably still want to know you're talking to a computer. That said, there's a lot of improvements that can be made there. I also think when it comes to customer service, you can call on a voice channel, you can open a chat window, you can talk to an agent. And there hasn't been so much focus on, and that's what we call a multi-channel experience. And many companies will have all of those channels available to you. And I think we're doing pretty well at each individual channel. I think where there needs to be some improvements made is going to what we call omni-channel. So maybe you want to be talking or doing a video conversation at the same time you're having a chat, or you need to move to another channel, or when you do want to escalate from a chat to an agent. It's being able to take the whole context of that conversation and move it over. So it's not just, yes, we have the ability to move to a channel, it's do we have the ability to move to a channel seamlessly? And I think those are where we're going to see some improvements. Focusing on personalization and customization. We have lots of personalization technology out there for ads, for example. I think in the conversational AI for customer service experience, we have focused less on personalization. We can figure out what the customer wants, intends, what their needs are, if we do have some of that, if we have more of that in our channels. So those are places where we're actively focused on making improvements, and I think where the industry overall is going to see some improvements.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so great to hear from your perspective since you're, working very closely in this field. And I wanted to say thank you so much, Michelle, for joining us today. It was such a pleasure to have you on the show. We at the Data Standard, we're trying to build a community where data thought leaders and data enthusiasts can just come together, network, and collaborate. And so what is something that we could do for you?
Obviously, there's the network and collaborating, and that's always really important. And I don't think you get advances in technology without. I think the other thing that communities like the Data Standard do that we really need is being able to have an open data standard. Being able to integrate into different systems is so important for companies like us that service companies that might choose different providers, AWS, Google. We have to integrate into all of that, and being able to, have standards across data, libraries, algorithms that work in all of those different formats is really important. So keeping that conversation up, being able to integrate and making that easier is also a really important aspect to the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll definitely make sure to also connect you with people within our community also, just to have more chats for you to collaborate with. And where can everyone just find you online to connect?
I think the best place to find me online is LinkedIn, and you can send a message on LinkedIn, and that will go to my work email. So that would be the easiest way.
Yeah, perfect. And to our audience, for more information on the data standard, you can find us at www.datastandard.io, as well as on our YouTube and LinkedIn. And thank you so much, Michelle, for joining us. It was so great to speak with you on the topic of conversational AI and just hear your perspective on this. So thank you so much for being on the show.